Hi there. Welcome to our Facebook Live Tuesday. Today I wanted to talk about how stress makes us fat. Now I'm really referring to women specifically here, although it can cause issues for men too. But remember the message I'm trying to send out with the Empowered Women's Health Project is how stress affects women differently than men. And this is a very specific issue for women in that when the stress happens to us, it causes a whole cascade of events to happen. It's like a domino effect. And so I want to kind of go through this process so you have a better understanding of how this works. And when you know how it works, you can actually figure out how to fix it. This is what I help patients do all the time. So the biggest piece, and some of you may know this already, but the biggest piece about this is that when stress happens to women, we actually start making a bunch of cortisol. Now, of course, that happens in men too, but high cortisol, it has some specific effects to us that, for example, it actually blocks thyroid activation. And thyroid, if you're not activating your thyroid hormone properly, then you're going to have kind of symptoms of hypothyroidism. And symptoms of hypothyroidism include everything from feeling tired all the time, feeling cold all the time, feeling sluggish, depression, dry skin and hair loss, constipation. But weight gain is one of the things too. So it's it's up there in the top things that happen for people with underactive thyroid. The other thing that high cortisol does, that stress causes, is it blocks insulin action. So when your insulin is blocked, your blood sugar raises. And when you have high blood sugar, it sends signals to the brain to make fat. So this is why a lot of people with, type 2 diabetes, it's a real big struggle because they're always struggling to get their blood sugar low enough so that they stop sending signals to the brain to make fat. And it's kind of a vicious cycle because the more fat you have, the more insulin resistant you are, and then you're constantly sending that feedback, that negative feedback loop. So that's kind of the first big avenue. So the stress causes high cortisol, which blocks thyroid activation, and it blocks insulin action. So the other way that it does this is when women have stress, and this is the super specific thing for us, fun times, is it actually blocks progesterone production. So cortisol goes up, progesterone goes down. They're on the same production pathway. So when your progesterone goes down, relative to estrogen, you become estrogen dominant, even if you have normal estrogen levels. So estrogen dominance in and of itself causes a myriad of issues. So it can be symptoms like menstrual irregularities or menstrual migraines, even things like endometriosis, uterine fibroids are associated with estrogen dominance, but it actually does cause weight gain as well, and like water retention. If you've ever, like in the summer when it gets really hot like it is now this week in Seattle, if you have swelling, in your fingers or your ankles, that could be a sign that you're estrogen dominant. And by the way, estrogen dominance, it's not good because if you have unopposed estrogen in the body, that's what actually predisposes you to a greater risk of estrogen-sensitive cancers and conditions in general. So those are the conditions that I mentioned earlier. So endometriosis, uterine fibroids, even fibrocystic breasts. So that's definitely related to estrogen dominance. But estrogen-sensitive cancers is another thing to want to balance your hormones to prevent. So that is, in a nutshell, how stress makes us fat. So maybe, I've seen some things around talking about, belly fat and things like this. And when you have the stress fat, it's definitely one of those things that tends to go around your middle. So that's but the good news is there are things you can do about that. So having that healthy response to stress, because stress isn't going away, and this is what I want women out there to know, is that the stress is not going anywhere, but how our bodies respond to it can be changed. It can be improved. And what we want to work on is balancing the stress response and getting your progesterone levels up to normal, making sure your estrogen and your testosterone and your DHEA and all those hormones that are important, making sure that they're all in the normal range, in a healthy range, and in a balance to each other, good ratio of estrogen and progesterone. And all of that can be looked at. Now, a lot of doctors don't look at that. You might be able to get help from other naturopaths with this, but this is my specialty. So if you do feel like that's something that you need help with, and I know last week's post, a lot of people were wondering, how can I get help with this? So I'm actually going to put a book now button on the Empowered Women's Health Project site so that it'll make it really easy for you to talk to me. And you can actually book a phone call. We can talk over the phone and just see where you're at, and we can get you on the right track and make sure that you're getting the help that you need, which is really my dream, is for every woman out there to have access to this kind of help. So, and I want to hear from you. I want to hear, what do you want to know about? What are you frustrated with? I want to know your stories. Tell me what's your story with your health, good or bad. So we're all in this together. I've been where you're at, and I'm still there. I mean, I'm still a woman, and I'm still a leader in the community. So it's something I feel really strongly about, leveling the playing field for women leaders by supporting their health. So I'm Dr. Crawford, and thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.